To mark this year's celebrations, TrustAfrica looks back on 2 decades of impact. From 2006 to date, the organisation has implemented programs to strengthen democracy and democratic governance, promote equitable development, and advance African philanthropy. In this anniversary year, Programs Director Briggs Bomba reflects on TrustAfrica's 20-year journey and explains how the chosen theme, Sustaining African Agency to Shape the Future, will influence how the continent defines and pursues its own future. As TrustAfrica marks its 20th year anniversary in 2026, what does this milestone signify for the organisation, both in terms of accomplishments to date and the vision for the next 2 decades?
At 20, TrustAfrica reaches a very important milestone. It's a moment to reflect on 2 decades of advancing African-led solutions and strengthening African institutions, African movements, African communities to shape their own futures. It's a moment to look back, to celebrate legacy, and at the same time, it's a moment to look forward and recommit to shaping the future that we want.
What is the theme of the anniversary program?
The theme for our anniversary is Sustaining African Agency Towards the Future we Want. It's a very deliberately chosen theme. It recognizes that African agency is not a matter of one-off project engagements. African agency needs to be strengthened, it needs to be sustained, it needs to be renewed. And most importantly, it's a theme that recognizes that the future of the continent must be shaped by African leadership, by African citizens, by African partnerships, by African resources, by African ingenuity and African creativity.
What do you mean by African agency in practical terms?
For us, African agency means the ability of Africans. By that we mean African citizens, African institutions, African movements to influence policy, to be able to shape policy, to be able to mobilize resources that define the African agenda. It's about power, it's about voice, it's about the ownership of our development pathways.
What will the anniversary program look like?
The 20th anniversary program for TrustAfrica is not going to be a single event. It's a year-long arc of activities. We will have signature convenings across the continent. We will showcase knowledge products, we will showcase ideas, we will showcase the lessons that we have learned in the last 20 years. We will showcase artistic creation and creativity, and all of this will culminate in a big convening at the end of the year in November 2026.
Tell us more about these convenings.
The convenings will bring together multiple stakeholders connected to the African development agenda. We'll bring together policymakers, we'll bring together think tanks, we'll bring together civil society, we'll bring together Pan-African institutions, we'll bring together youth movements, we'll bring together social movements. It will bring together even resourcing partners who are associated with the African agenda. The convenings will focus on key themes related to the future we want for Africa, around equitable development, around democracy and governance, around African climate futures, around intergenerational leadership, particularly from the point of centering youth leadership in Africa's development agenda. And the idea is to align partnerships, align resources, align thinking in terms of shaping African agency and defining the future that we want for the continent.
What role will knowledge and research play in the program?
Indeed, a central part of the 20th anniversary program is to showcase what we have learned in the last 20 years. So the knowledge products that we will put on offer, will showcase, will really bring out the key insights around the question of what does it take to strengthen African agency, to sustain African agency, to resource African agency towards the future that we want for the continent. So we will have various knowledge products in the form of the products that we have compiled in the form of books, reports, policy briefs, policy insights. So there will be a whole plethora of knowledge products that will be on showcase, but all of them speaking to what we have learned in these last 20 years around the knowledge base that is necessary to shape the future that we want for the continent.
What will it take to sustain African agency in the future?
We don't see agency as just political or economic. It is also cultural. How we see ourselves, how we tell our stories is very fundamental. So the anniversary program will include artistic creations. It will include storytelling from our point of view as an African institution that has been steeped in this commitment to strengthen African agency in solving the continent's most pressing challenges. So our partners, our community can expect some artistic products, some artistic creations. In fact, this includes a seminar song that we will be launching as part of the 20th anniversary program alongside other creative products. We see Africa's cultural renaissance and African art and African creativity as being central to shaping and defining the continent's development agenda and future.
What is special about the main convening in November 2026?
The November convening is very important. It will be the culmination of our year-long program of activities. It will bring together all the critical stakeholders for Africa's development agenda in terms of African leadership, in terms of the African Union leadership, in terms of leaders from the regional economic communities, in terms of leaders of Africa's think tanks, in terms of leaders of key Pan-African institutions and citizens organizations. We see it as a moment to not only come together into a collective reflection on the journey that we are coming from for TrustAfrica over these last 20 years, but for the continent over these several decades since independence. We are talking more than 70 years. But to also collectively begin to reimagine what the future can look like for the continent. And not only reimagine, but also commit collectively to doing what it takes for us to usher in the future that African citizens want, as expressed in Agenda 2063 aspirations. And very importantly, it's also the moment at which we will be showcasing in depth our thinking in terms of TrustAfrica's next strategic phase.
How does this anniversary connect to TrustAfrica's future direction?
This anniversary is not just about the past. It is a bridge from where we have been to where we are going. Our next strategic plan is themed Sustaining African Agency as a foundation for justice-centered transformation. So the anniversary program in its entirety is focused on creating momentum around this agenda of sustaining African agency for justice-centered transformation into the future.
Will there be media or storytelling outputs?
Yes, we are developing a set of storytelling products to support the anniversary. This includes a documentary that captures our journey through the voices of staff at TrustAfrica, the voices of the civil society partners we have worked with, the voices of social movements we have worked with, the voices of resourcing partners that we have worked with, the voices of allies that we have collaborated with. All of this will be captured in a documentary that's going to speak to where we have been, where we are now, and our vision for the future that we want for the continent.
What message do you want to leave with partners and stakeholders?
The message is very clear. African agents must be sustained, not only recognized, but resourced, strengthened, and defended. TrustAfrica at 20 is an invitation to work together, to build partnerships, and to collectively shape the future that we want for the continent. So Zainab, TrustAfrica at 20 is not just a celebration. It is a commitment to sustain African agency and build the future that we want collectively. Thank you, Zainab. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you for your time, Briggs. We would like to remind our viewers that this is all a part of the 20-year anniversary being celebrated by TrustAfrica. That was Briggs Bomba, Programs Director for TrustAfrica, as he shared his insights on the organization and its importance.